Here's our story dice. And first thing we're going to do is shake them up a little. Oh, my desk is so disorganized. Shaking them up. Shake them, shake them, shake them. All right. Here's our dice. I'm gonna pick 3 without looking. There's 1. 2. You want to pick? Well, maybe we'll have to do something like that on a future one. All right, so here's the 3 dice that we got, and now I'm gonna put them in, see what comes out. Okay, here's number 1. See that? Oh no. Is that an alien? Okay, here comes the second one. It's like a sheriff's badge. Okay, here comes the last one. Okay. We have an alien, some kind of star or sheriff's badge, and a magic wand. Magical alien cowboy. I like it, Mayara. Okay. Well, that gives us something to work with. All right. So our prompt was alien, a sheriff badge, and a magic wand. So here we go. We're gonna see how this goes. Once upon a time, there was a town called Meadows Cross. It was a place where people lived, but mostly a place where people traveled through. Most people who visited Meadows Cross didn't stay for long. The one who had lived there the longest was a cat named Sheriff Malachi. His whiskers were growing gray and long. His bones were starting to ache, and he wasn't as fast and as spry as he used to be. But Meadows Cross was a peaceful place. Most of his duties revolved around helping the townsfolk with their day-to-day activities and showing the new arrivals where to go, giving directions to those who were passing through. Sheriff Malachi enjoyed the peaceful life. He enjoyed his predictable existence. But every once in a while, he would dream of something more. A little bit of excitement. A little bit of whimsy. And every morning, he would awaken and he would gratefully go about his chores and his duties, helping the townsfolk. One evening, as he went out and sat on his porch to watch the sun set, he looked up in the sky and noticed that in addition to the setting sun, there was another light that was growing brighter and brighter. The sky that should have been darkening was growing more and more light by the moment. Sheriff Malachi stood and stared in wonder. Soon it appeared to him as if there was a brilliant glow directly above his humble home. The light shone brighter than as if he were looking straight into the sun, and yet somehow it didn't hurt his eyes. Somehow he was able to stare directly up into that brilliant light. He noticed movement within the light, and soon saw a figure. Something began descending until they were directly in front of him. For a moment, Sheriff Malachi couldn't decide if they were covered in flowing robes, or if they were flapping their arms. But as his eyes adjusted, he realized that what stood before him was some bird creature, or bird-like, for it was unlike any bird that he had seen before. Oh, some of the townsfolk were avians. He had seen chickens and gulls. But this new being who had come from the bright light in the sky was unlike any being he had ever seen. The bright light directly overhead finally dimmed, but this newcomer continued to glow in the dim light of the setting sun. They had a short, hooked beak and 4 eyes, 2 on either side of their face. And their feathers, their feathers were brilliant colors of blue and green and turquoise. Its tail fanned out behind it, like a peacock, but with feathers of white and gray and yellow. It gestured towards Malachi with one of its wings and opened its beak as if to speak. But instead of words, an enchanting song filled the air. As the newcomer moved its beak, the song changed and warped and vibrated through the air. Malachi felt as if it sank deep into his very soul, soothed his aching bones, and brought back some spark of youth that he had long since forgotten. The newcomer cocked its head and looked at him expectantly. For a moment, Sheriff Malachi wondered what it was waiting for. And then he wondered if the song had actually been a question. Sheriff Malachi apologized, explaining that he hadn't understood what the newcomer had said. They opened their beak again, and another song filled the air. This time, it turned and gestured broadly with its wing towards the sky, upon which the first few twinkling stars were beginning to appear. Strangely, Sheriff Malachi thought that perhaps he did understand. After all, Meadows Cross was a place where travelers came and went. Why should this newcomer be any different? Hastily, he went inside his home and returned soon after with a set of maps. He spread them out on his chair that was on the porch and beckoned the newcomer forward. Together, they examined the maps. Sheriff Malachi pointed where Meadows Cross was, showed the newcomer where the nearby places of interest were, and explained as far as he could remember, and as far as the maps could show. Malachi felt embarrassed. Wherever this stranger had come from, it must have been far, far greater distance than any of these maps could show. But they looked on with interest, taking in all of Malachi's words and explanations, and waiting expectantly whenever he paused. At last, Sheriff Malachi had finished explaining the last of the maps. He folded them and then proffered them to the newcomer, who accepted them gratefully. The newcomer bowed, and Malachi returned the gesture. Then, their body began to glow even brighter. Malachi watched as the light around them grew more and more bright, until at last he did have to look away. All at once, the light disappeared. And for a few seconds, Malachi could see nothing. As his vision returned, he looked around and could see no one. For a moment, he wondered if he had imagined it all. But looking around, he realized that his maps, the ones he had given to the newcomer, were gone. He looked up into the sky, and for the briefest of moments, he spotted a streaking light. Malachi watched the sky for a long time after that. Strangely, not growing tired. He felt more energy than he had had in a long time. He felt as though he could go the entire night, watching the stars, and still have energy to spare in the morning. Whatever the case, Sheriff Malachi was grateful for meeting the stranger and for the new spark that they had brought into his life. The end.